Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel of nonsense. Today is all about the Ford Mustang Mach E, and I'm half excited about driving it, half dreading it. It's a bit like a Christmas, but where all your best presents are given to you by that weird uncle who likes to kiss you on the mouth. Because, well, Ford has made a mainstream EV, that's very exciting. They might democratize electric cars, that's all good stuff. But on the other hand, I know when you do any Mach E content, the comments are going to be full of people saying, "That's not a Mustang!" And frankly, that annoys me a bit. Yeah, let's get the whole Mustang name thing out of the way straight away, up front. It's called a Mustang, and I know there's going to be someone in the comments, probably called Mum Toucher 69, who will be funny and say, "It's not a Mustang, it's electric, not on my watch." And you know what? You're wrong, and you're an idiot, because it's up to Ford to decide what gets the Mustang name, and Ford calls this a Mustang, so it's a Mustang. Can we move on and actually find out if it's any good? Because spoiler, it is very good, and it's actually an EV with some personality. Let's find out how and why and what. Right, are you ready for a load of numbers? I'm sorry, but we've got to do the numbers bit, and there are so many. I'm gonna look at my phone. This is a top spec Mach E, currently at least. It is an extended range, all-wheel drive. It costs £58,000, and there aren't really any options other than the paint. So this paint's about 700 quid. So yeah, it's about £58,000. Now, there are cheaper ones. You can get a standard range, and you can get a rear-wheel drive standard range, and there's a rear-wheel drive extended range. So you can choose your range is either standard or extended, and you can have dual motors or a single motor at the back. Are you keeping up? Now, if you want the cheapest Mustang Mach E that you can get in the UK, that is the standard range rear-wheel drive, and that will cost you about 40 grand, and then there's basically 50 grand and then 58 grand for this one, and there's a first edition, which is basically this in a different colour and some extra bits on it. For added confusion and to pad this video out a bit more to hit that magic 10-minute marker, sorry for all the adverts, if you get the all-wheel drive extended range, aka this car, you actually get some extra bits of kit that you can't get on some of the lesser ones, such as the fancy B&O Hi-Fi that goes across the dash, and you get faster charging on both the extended range cars, so you can do 150 kilowatts fast charging rather than 115 on the standard range. I told you it was complicated. Right, let's get onto this car. Battery in this, the all-wheel drive extended range, is 88 kilowatt hours. It'll do 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. It's got 351 horsepower and 580 Newton meters of torque. This is the height of professionalism, I know. And it'll do 335 miles to a charge, which Ford says is 1.3 times the distance to the International Space Station, which is a stupid thing to say, frankly, because you can't drive in space. There aren't any roads. Right, let's get started with the looks. Obviously, it's a Mustang that's been turned into an SUV, so it's got loads of Mustang design cues. The headlights and the taillights all look quite Mustang-y. Now, because there's no 5-litre V8 under here and all the people on the internet are crying, you've got some storage space. However, bear in mind this is a UK car, steering wheel is on that side. You then have to come around to the passenger side to open up the storage space. So you've got 81 litres at the front, and it's just not that useful if you've got to get out of the car and go around there. So this has been thought of, I kind of like as if it had a normal engine under here. Anyway, 81 litres of space is a drainable box, and you've probably seen people in America filling this with beer and all that kind of stuff, but here in the UK we're practical. We prefer to fill it with charging cables. It's only when you look at the Mustang Mach E from the side that you realise just how big a car it is. It's quite long. It's kind of got that electric SUV look though, where it's quite tall this way. And if you actually look, pressing the special door handle button thing, the doors are really quite, well, droopy, I guess, to hide the height of the battery pack in the floor. Speaking of the door handles, you've got these little things to hook your thumb in and a little button here which you push and it pops the door open for you, because door handles were just too complicated. If you don't want to do that, there's a little touchpad here so you can put in a PIN code to open the door, and then a little PIN thing appears on the center console so you can start the engine without the key. And obviously, because this is 2021, you can use your phone, Bluetooth, and open the door and start it with your phone. I've not bothered to do that because I can't work the Ford Pass app on a press car because I'm too simple. But yeah, that's the side of the Mustang Mach E. Now, I would argue that the back end of the Mach E is the most Mustang-y angle on the car, simply because you've got these three side tail lights, which could have been ripped straight from a petrol Mustang. You get a boot, obviously, which you open using a rubber nipple down there. The boot's 402 litres, which is actually a little bit smaller than the petrol Mustang, I think. It beeps at you, and it's 1,420 litres if you stick the back seats down, which is quite a big space. Under the floor, you've got a little bit of storage, tyre inflation kit, warning triangles, and all that guff. But yeah, it's not a cavernous boot. You can tell that it's lost some space because of the motor and the batteries and all that stuff, but it's still perfectly usable. Do-do-do. It's that classic Ford thing where it just beeps at you all the time. Now, before I show you the back seats, I want to talk about something really dull but quite interesting, to me at least. It's definitely dull. The load cover, Ford has applied for a patent for this, I think. So basically it lifts up out of the way as the tailgate rises, so you're not fighting it when you're jamming stuff in the boot. It's a small detail, but a really nice one, like that you would never notice. But, you know, you'd live with a Mach E for years and think, oh, doesn't have a parcel shelf. Don't have to throw a parcel shelf in the garage when I take the kids to university or whatever, because it just gets out of the way. Very clever, well done Ford. Let's do the back seats. The back seats of the Mustang Mach E are reasonably roomy. Got the knee, do the knee thing, do the head thing. It's got a full-length panoramic sunroof, which doesn't hit my head, and it doesn't actually eat into the headroom space. What I have just noticed though, climbing in, is that the floor pan is quite high. So this space here vertically is a little bit of a squeeze for me at 6'3". I can get in obviously, but once I'm in, I've got this here, right in my eye line, and the windows swoop down. So it's actually a little claustrophobic, but only for lanky bastards like me. You've got USB and a USB-C there, heating controls, that's about it. Yeah, I could do long distances in here, but I would hit my head when I go to get out. Up front, the Mach E is totally different to any Ford that you've seen before. You've got a 15.5-inch touchscreen there for everything from the aircon to the Apple CarPlay to the radio to the sat-nav to the heated seats. Pretty much everything's in there. And you know what? I don't hate it. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10 on the scale of intuitiveness. It's quite good. You've got a physical volume knob, which is fantastic. And you can see all your phone apps and the car's apps there, so you can quickly find out, oh, I want to go and charge. I can press that button and it will go to sat-nav and find your nearest chargers. And it uses machine learning, apparently, to find out what things you're likely to want to do at the moment. So in the morning, it will recommend different stuff to in the afternoon, all that kind of jazz. You hit this up here and you get to the driving modes, which are probably named by the marketing department, but I'm kind of okay with it. It's not a very serious car in this respect. You've got active, which is your normal driving mode, whisper, which is the quiet mode and softens the throttle response, and I think that's actually the rain mode as well. And you've got untamed, which is the sporty one. You can turn the fake internal noise on and off really easily. You can put one pedal drive on, so that gives you massive regeneration when you lift off the accelerator. So you don't need to use the brake pedal in normal driving. Obviously you do when there's an emergency. Yeah, it's all actually really easy. It's the new sync system from Ford, and I'm gonna give it a fairly tentative thumbs up. It's actually really good for a touchscreen system, and it's quite quick, it's quite snappy. I've not been annoyed by the processing power in it. This is cool. This is the driver's display, obviously, so it's not like a Tesla Model 3 where everything's on one display. You get your speed up here, and this does change depending on what driving mode you're in. You can't customize it, and it's really simple, and I like it. It just shows you what you need to know, your range, your power, your speed, all that kind of stuff, and nothing else. It's not distracting. It's pretty fabulous, to be honest. In here, the gears are selected. Which direction you're going to go when you accelerate is chosen using a rotary knob down there. The wireless charging mat is quite open there, and with this panoramic sunroof, it feels really airy in here. Now this has got the upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system because it's the extended range all-wheel drive one, whatever. And that's got this grey cloth finish, which feels really nice. It lends it a slightly Scandi appeal. Now overall, I would say at 58 grand, this car just about feels worth the money inside. There are some, you know, normal Ford feeling bits, a bit budgety, but it kind of works as a whole. I'm quite impressed by it. Quite like the view out over the bonnet. You get the ridges in the bonnet like in a petrol Mustang. And yeah, it's quite a cool thing, dare I say. Ford, you've pulled it off. It's different, it's unusual, but it all works very well. Should we see if it feels like a Mustang to drive? We probably should. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, it's got these weird door handles inside as well. It's like a little flicky switch. Before we go and drive, you might notice this little bar here. It's not actually a display. What that is a set of really cool infrared cameras that look at your face to check you're paying attention. And when they unveil or unlock the hands-free driving for the Mustang, autonomous, this is what will check that you're looking at the road. It's coming to America first. I imagine it will come to Europe at some point later, but that is what that bar is for. It's looking at your face to check you're paying attention to everything. Right, now let's go and drive. Right then, let's go for an... Stop, shut up. Right, let's go for a drive in the Mustang Mach E. You put a foot on the brake, hit the power button, and stick it in gear using the little knob here. It is festooned with cameras, so this is easy. Doesn't creep though. You might be able to enable it. I haven't found it, but I'd rather it crept. Oh, there's a van coming. That's typical, isn't it? Right, he can go in there. I'm in comfort mode. Comfort mode is called active mode, which is just your normal mode. And to be honest, at low speeds, despite that massive squidgy tyre sidewall, you do sense the weight of this. It is a bit crashy over bumps at lower speeds. If there's any rattling, that is my now 2 child seats in the back of the car. Go me, go my loins. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's just not as silky smooth on broken roads as you might think, given how much squish there is in those tyres. So God knows what it'd be like on bigger wheels. I think it'd be pretty horrible. Okay, junction of doom. Let's go. Okay, let's go. Electric Mustang, what's it like? Whee! Right, that's 50 miles an hour. It's quick. Obviously, this has got a single speed gearbox, none of that fancy Porsche Taycan 2-speed stuff. 0 to 60, what did I say, 5.8 seconds. It feels a little bit quicker than that. Ford does actually give the 0 to 60 as from a standstill and from a slight run out, whatever it's called. You Americans will know. And it's about 5 seconds once it's on the move, slightly. Obviously, it's a heavy car, so it doesn't feel rip your face off quick off the line. Like, even this dual motor is not going to keep up with the Tesla Model 3 or anything like that away from the lights, unless you've got a slow Tesla Model 3. But it's brisk, and it's got that instant mid-range punch that you get from electric cars. It's also got the most intrusive lane keeping assist I've ever used. It basically turned that corner for me. Luckily, you can press this button twice and it turns it off. It will reactivate when you switch the car off and on again, as with everything else these days. Yeah, so far it's quite quiet, it's quite refined. I've got the fake propulsion noise switched off. It's relaxing. I've done some nursery runs in this with my daughter, and she's been sitting in the back saying, electric car, electric car. And unfortunately, I've been able to hear that very clearly because there's not much road noise. Right. Does it drive like a Mustang on the fun stuff? Slightly loaded question that, because is a Mustang any good to drive? Anyway, that's for another video. We're going to get to the twisty road. I'm going to shut up for now, and I'll see you there. It's sunny. Not had this problem for a long time. Right, we're going to go from 30 to 60. We'll see how fast it is. Let me just nip past this fluorescent cyclist with a very aerodynamic helmet. Right, 30 miles an hour. Let's get to 60. It's a good shunt. That is 60. It is quick. Right, let's do some corners. The steering isn't the most dripping in feedback. It's a bit spongy. It's a bit soft feeling. You can hustle this though. It's actually not on massively wide tyres, but it's got quite a good sense of grip, but just not a lot through the steering wheel. It feels in some ways, it is slightly boaty, but in quite an enjoyable way. And I've had a few slides from this. I thought it was the rear wheel drive one until I looked and I'm like, oh no, this is actually the dual motor, because out of junctions in untamed mode it will do comically slow, languid little slides and it'll make you laugh. Yeah. It actually gets quite a bit more comfortable as the speed picks up. Bit of understeer there, but not much. That's just skinny tyre syndrome. Punch out the corners. Yeah, I'm looking forward to driving the fast one, the Mach E GT, and that drops 0 to 60 time to 3.8, I think. I could be wrong. It looks quite fun. Now, you can turn the traction control off through this, but I've had a fiddle and it didn't really change anything. I've tried on some loose surfaces and it didn't really indulge me in any nonsense, more than it did with it switched on. Yeah, in terms of handling, it is actually quite fun. And out of roundabouts, you can get some little slides on that, not massive ones, just a wiggle from the back end, and even in the dual motor one, it lets you do that. It's clearly engineered in to make it feel fun, and Ford has done it. I would say for an EV, this has a really good balance of comfort, fun, and, well, speed, frankly. It's not rip your face off fast, but it's got a Ford feel to the chassis. They know how to make cars handle in an amusing way, and they've done it here. Right, that's probably enough waffle from me about that. Back to you, Tim, for an outro. Overall then, the Ford Mustang Mach E is something totally different really, not just for Ford. It just feels like a different sort of car from the interior, from the infotainment system. I know we've seen those big screens on Teslas, but it's weird to see a mainstream manufacturer do that and pull it off. The way it drives is entertaining. They're not trying to make it feel like a lockdown sports car. It's got character in the way that it feels like an electrified version of a slightly boaty old American sports car that kicks its tail out occasionally. It's entertaining. Considering it's a big heavy SUV, Ford's done an amazing job of putting some fun in it. It's just a different kind of fun. It's a different kind of car, and it's a cracking thing. Obviously it's not cheap at 58 grand. This one is reasonably expensive, but you can get one for 40 grand, and it's nice to see a mainstream manufacturer that has really cracked EVs pretty well on their first try. The only other real niggles I can think of are the boot space could be bigger, access to the rear seats could be better, and you might not like the looks or the fact it's called a Mustang. But hey, we've talked about that at the start of the video. It's a good car if you give it a chance. Right, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I've been Tim Rodey, as usual, nonsense merchant. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit my bell, and I'll see you next time for more fun with cars. Oh yeah, in case you're wondering, this number plate is real. It's owned by Ford UK, and apparently it's worth about 10 times the value of this 58 grand car. So yeah, about £600,000 that's worth apparently now.